Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, and instead of dragging yourself to the coffee maker like a zombie, you literally jump out of bed, full of energy and ready to conquer the world. Sounds like fantasy? What if I told you that the secret to this state isn't in energy drinks or motivational videos, but right inside you? Today we'll uncover the mystery of inner motivation that will change your life forever. Stay until the end. At the finale of this video, there's an exercise waiting for you that will literally restart your internal engine of inspiration. Friends, let's immediately dispel one myth. Many people think that motivation is something that comes from outside. A coach's motivating speech, an inspiring movie, a friend's success. But these are all external stimuli that work like drugs. They give a temporary effect and then require a new dose. Real motivation is born from within. It's like the difference between a candle and the sun. A candle can light up a room, but only while it's burning. The sun shines constantly, powered by its own energy. Steve Jobs once said the famous phrase, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." But how do you find this love? How do you ignite this inner fire? The first step is understanding the difference between external and internal motivation. External motivation is when you do something for a reward or to avoid punishment. Money, recognition, avoiding criticism. Internal motivation is when the process itself brings you pleasure and meaning. You do something because it aligns with your values, develops your abilities, gives you a sense of significance. Research by psychologist Edward Deci showed an amazing thing. People driven by internal motivation are not only happier, but also more successful in the long term. They're more creative, persistent, and resilient to stress. Remember your childhood. Remember how you could spend hours doing what you enjoyed? Drawing, building with blocks, reading books. No one forced you. You did it simply because it was interesting. What happened then? Why did we lose this natural ability for self-motivation? It's because as we grew older, we began to focus more on external stimuli and forgot about internal ones. The education system, unfortunately, often kills internal motivation. Instead of developing curiosity, we learn for grades. Instead of creativity, for the teacher's praise. But the good news is that internal motivation can be restored. It's like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. The first tool for developing internal motivation is finding meaning. Viktor Frankl, who survived a concentration camp, wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how." Find the connection between what you do and something bigger. Even the most boring job can gain meaning if you understand how it affects other people or your personal development. The second tool is autonomy. People vitally need the feeling that they control their own lives. Even within rigid frameworks, you can always find areas for personal choice. Daniel Pink in the book Drive gives an example of Google, where employees are allowed to spend 20% of their time on any projects. That's how Gmail and Google News were created. People worked on these projects not for money, but out of curiosity and interest. The third component is mastery. We all strive to get better at what's important to us. This is an innate human need. When we feel progress, our brain releases dopamine, the pleasure hormone. That's why it's so important to set challenges for yourself. Not too easy, it'll be boring. Not too difficult, it'll be frustrating. You need the golden mean that psychologists call the zone of proximal development. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi studied the state of flow, when a person is completely absorbed in activity and time seems to stop. This is the peak of internal motivation. In this state, we don't need external stimuli. To enter the flow state, you need clear goals, immediate feedback, and balance between task complexity and your skills. That's exactly why video games are so addictive. They artificially create these conditions. Another powerful source of internal motivation is connection with other people. We are social beings, and the need for belonging and contributing to the common cause is embedded in us by nature. Think about people who inspire you. What unites them? They serve something bigger than their personal interests. Mother Teresa, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, they all found ways to connect their activities with improving other people's lives. But you don't have to change the world globally. You can start small, even in the most ordinary job. You can find ways to help colleagues, improve processes, do something useful for clients. An important point, internal motivation is closely connected to your values. If what you do contradicts your deep beliefs, motivation will leak out like water from a bucket with holes. That's why it's so important to first understand yourself. What's truly important to you? What do you value most? Freedom, security, creativity, justice, family? There's a simple exercise. Imagine you have unlimited resources and time. What would you do? What would you think about before sleep with a sense of deep satisfaction? This image will point you in the direction for finding internal motivation. Many people are afraid to look inside themselves, fearing they will discover emptiness. But actually, it's the opposite. Inside each of us is a unique combination of talents, interests, and life experience that will never be repeated. The problem is that we often drown out this inner voice with the noise of the external world. Social media, others' expectations, social stereotypes, all this prevents us from hearing our true selves. That's why the practice of silence is so important. Meditation, solo walks, journaling, any ways to be alone with yourself and your thoughts. Oprah Winfrey says she spends 20 minutes every morning in meditation to tune into the frequency of her soul. For her, this isn't a luxury, but a necessity for maintaining connection with her internal source of energy. Another enemy of internal motivation is perfectionism. When we demand perfect results from ourselves on the first try, fear of failure paralyzes action. And without action, there's no progress or satisfaction. Embrace the philosophy of good enough to start. It's better to do something imperfectly than not do it at all. Mastery comes through practice, not through thinking about how to do it perfectly. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, made decisions having only 70% of the information. He understood that waiting for complete certainty is the path to paralysis. Action under uncertainty is the manifestation of internal motivation. Don't forget to celebrate small victories. Our brain remembers moments of success and strives to repeat them. Even small progress deserves recognition. This feeds internal motivation. Create rituals around activities important to you. A favorite coffee mug before starting creative work, a special place for reflection, certain music for concentration. Rituals help enter the right state and connect activity with positive emotions. Surround yourself with people who support your inner fire, not extinguish it. Enthusiasm is contagious, as is apathy. Consciously choose whose influence to let into your life. Remember that internal motivation isn't a constant state of euphoria. It's rather a deep sense of direction and meaning that helps overcome difficulties and failures. There will be days when motivation is weaker. This is normal. In such moments, it's important not to force it, but to show patience and self-compassion. Temporary declines don't mean you've lost connection with your internal source. Finally, remember that searching for internal motivation isn't a one-time event, but a constant process. We change, and our sources of inspiration can also evolve. Be open to these changes. Let's break down specific techniques for developing internal motivation that you can apply today. The first technique is called the 5 Whys method. When you realize you're losing motivation for something important, ask yourself, why is this important? Then ask why, again to the answer you get, and so on 5 times. For example, you're losing motivation to exercise. Why is exercise important? To be healthy. Why is it important to be healthy? To have energy. Why is it important to have energy? To spend quality time with family, and so on. By the fifth why, you'll reach a deep value that will become a source of internal motivation. The second powerful technique is ideal day visualization. Imagine in detail a day when you live completely in accordance with your values and goals. How do you wake up? What do you do? Who do you communicate with? What emotions do you experience? This visualization will become a compass for your decisions. Tony Robbins uses a technique he calls the hour of power. Every morning he spends an hour on exercises that tune his internal state. Breathing practices, gratitude, goal visualization. This isn't luxury, but an investment in energy for the whole day. The third technique is keeping an energy journal. For a week, record every hour what you did and what your energy level was on a scale from 1 to 10. You'll see clear patterns. Which activities give energy and which take it away. It's very important to understand the difference between physical and emotional fatigue. After physical work, you get tired in body but can feel satisfaction. After activity that contradicts your values, you get tired in soul. This exhaustion can't be restored with just rest. Elon Musk works 80 to 100 hours per week but doesn't burn out because he sincerely believes in his company's mission. He sees the connection between daily work and a grandiose goal, making humanity a multiplanetary species. The fourth technique is the protege method. Find someone to whom you can pass on your knowledge and experience. When we teach others, we better understand the subject ourselves and find new facets in it. This creates powerful internal motivation. Bill Gates, after leaving Microsoft, completely devoted himself to philanthropy. He says he's never felt more motivated than now because he sees a direct connection between his efforts and improving the lives of millions of people. The fifth technique is creating an inspiration board. This isn't just pretty pictures of your goals. It's a visual reminder of why these goals are personally important to you. Include photos of people you love, quotes that resonate with your values, images of the future you want to create. The sixth technique is the 2-minute rule. If something can be done in 2 minutes and aligns with your goals, do it immediately. This creates momentum and a sense of control over your life. Small actions accumulate and create big changes. James Clear in the book Atomic Habits showed how improving by 1% every day gives 37% growth per year. Most people overestimate what can be done in a day and underestimate what can be achieved in a year of constant small efforts. The seventh technique is emotional anchoring. Create a physical anchor for a state of motivation. This can be a certain posture, gesture, or even aroma. Use this anchor in moments of peak motivation to then be able to consciously evoke this state. Research shows that our physical state directly affects our emotional state. Simply changing posture, straightening the back, lifting the chin can increase testosterone levels by 20% and reduce cortisol by 25%. The eighth technique is the progressive overload principle. In the gym, muscle growth requires constantly increasing the load. Same with motivation. You need to constantly raise the bar of your challenges. As soon as something becomes too easy, set a more ambitious goal. Stephen King set himself a goal to write 2,000 words per day. When this became a habit, he didn't stop at what he achieved, but began working on the quality of those words. Constant development maintains interest in activity. The ninth technique is a like-minded environment. Create or find a community of people who share your values and aspirations. This can be a formal group, online community, or simply a circle of friends who support your growth. Napoleon Hill in the book Think and Grow Rich wrote about a mastermind, a group of people with whom you regularly exchange ideas and support each other. Such a group creates synergy where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The 10th technique is retrospective analysis. Every week, dedicate 30 minutes to analysis. What went well? What can be improved? What lessons to extract? This helps see progress and adjust course. It's also very important to learn to distinguish temporary obstacles from fundamental problems with motivation. Sometimes decreased motivation is a signal that it's time to reconsider goals or methods of achieving them. Remember the story of Thomas Edison, who said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His internal motivation was so strong that failures were perceived as valuable information, not a reason to give up. And the last but very important technique is the 80-20 principle. Identify 20% of actions that give 80% of results toward your goals. Focus on these actions and delegate or eliminate the rest. This will free up energy for what's truly important. Internal motivation isn't a magic pill that will solve all problems. It's a system of thinking and actions that needs to be built gradually. But the result is worth the effort. A life filled with meaning, energy, and satisfaction from every day. And here we've reached the finale. I promised you a powerful exercise, and here it is. Every evening for a week, ask yourself one question. What gave me energy today, and what took it away? Write down the answers. After a week, you'll see a clear pattern, a map of your internal sources of motivation. If this video helped you, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. There are more practical tools for unlocking your potential ahead. And in the comments, share, what is your main internal driver? See you in the next video, where we'll talk about how to turn dreams into a concrete action plan